We will see where that rotation is. Looks like it's still moving fairly slowly, but again, looking through mainly rural parts there of Marshall County, heading toward 219, and looks like it will be moving toward the Grigla area. So for our friends in Grigla, I know quite a few people watching do live in the Grigla area. I hear from them quite a bit. Make sure to head inside your home, away from those windows. Get as many walls between yourself and the outside world as you possibly can, because there is a radar-confirmed rotation that could produce a tornado at any given moment heading toward the Grigla area. And folks, I know we do have sports going on today. We got hockey, we've got golf, but we also have potentially life-threatening tornadoes that have been confirmed in multiple locations across our viewing area. So I know sports are important, especially on a Sunday, but also important to us here at Valley News Live is life. So that's one thing we want to make sure to say to people that, yes, we know I love hockey too, I love golf, but I also love keeping people alive. Here is the tornado warning for the Hillsborough area. We now see that rotation moving just north of Hillsborough. That was a confirmed tornado near the Blanchard area. That was confirmed moments ago, and Eric now has rotation on the left-hand side of your screen. We can pull him up full screen perfect. So Eric Whitehill is north of Amenia at this point, and he appears to be looking northwest. Eric, that storm is looking pretty organized. What kind of things have changed in the last 5 minutes or so?
Nathan, right now I am seeing some signs of some fairly significant rotation just north of Amenia, south of Arthur. You are correct, I'm looking almost directly northwest off of 18. I am approximately 2 miles north of Vance, North Dakota. If people around here know where that is. No funnel clouds, but this wall cloud is rotating fairly stoutly at this time. And there's a couple of areas that I'm watching for rotation and to see if we've got any funnels that are going to start dropping down. But we definitely have some pretty good rotation here right now, but no tornadoes, no funnel clouds right now. But if I'm in Amenia, if I'm in Arthur, I'm taking my tornado precautions, Nathan. I can't emphasize that enough right now. Back to you in the studio.
Perfect, Eric. Thank you so much for that. And Eric is in perfect position to see the south end of this cell. He's on the south end where that velocity couplet is, and when people looking at tornadoes are south of a particular tornado warned cell, that's where they'll be out of the rain, out of all that hail, and be able to see the southernmost part of that cell the best. So he is just north of Amenia, and he's looking very closely, Eric is, at this particular broad rotation at this point. You can see just outside of Amenia, and he was 100% correct. If you are in Amenia, this storm is intense. This storm is tornado warned. This storm is rotating. And of course, you need to take your tornado precautions, get inside, out of mobile homes, out of campers, making sure you're in a sturdy structure with sturdy walls and getting as many of those sturdy walls between yourself and the outside world as you possibly can. That's again for our friends in Amenia. For our friends in Hillsborough, we do have that rotation right now moving to just north of town. That's from a tornado that was confirmed moments ago that prompted the issuance of that tornado warning. And that is, of course, moving now across I-29 just north of Hillsborough. We do have a little bit of that notch. That notch in the velocity is what we look for also when we have a line of storms. So this is, again, a potent storm that has rotation on it. A tornado was confirmed. Haven't seen anything lately from this area of any more tornado confirmations there. And that is telling to me because that did just cross I-29. So if we had that storm cross I-29 and there were no reports coming in, that is telling to me that there may not necessarily be a tornado on that still. But this tornado warning for the Hillsborough area was prompted by a confirmed tornado near Blanchard. A new severe thunderstorm warning just came in also for our friends in Lake of the Woods County and Roseau counties. This also has the tag on it from the National Weather Service where a tornado is possible. So it may not be a tornado warning necessarily, but there is, again, those notches in this particular line. You can see a notch right there, a notch right there. That indicates some rotation in this particular cell. So a tornado could also form from this severe thunderstorm at any given moment, but the primary concerns at this point are winds upwards of 70 miles per hour. This is for our friends in Warroad. This is for our friends in southeast Roseau. Roseau, conditions are improving in Roseau itself, but for our friends in southeast Roseau and into Lake of the Woods County. So for our folks on the lake there near Warroad, for our friends on the lake in Lake of the Woods County, please, please, please get off the water, get off the patios if you're out having lunch, get inside a building, away from those windows, and get as many walls between yourself and the outside as you can, because it is a severe thunderstorm warning, but a tornado is possible along the leading edge of that tornado warning. Still seeing a brand new severe thunderstorm warning, has been issued for the line of storms from Hillsborough down. This does include the Amenia area. This is the storm I was talking about near Hillsborough, where it's just a storm that has that rotation on it. So we are seeing, of course, that tornado warning for Hillsborough area, but also a severe thunderstorm now for folks like in Georgetown, in Ada, moving across I-29 in Grandin, in Hunter as well, and in Amenia. It looks like Hunter, things won't be too bad for our friends in Hunter, but there is still a line of severe storms moving from, say, the Hillsborough area down to Amenia, heading toward the Hendrum area, Georgetown, and Ada Borup. Do have 2 tornado warnings in that area as well. And for Thief River Falls, we have been watching this very carefully for our friends in TRF very, very closely. We now have 2 velocity couplets inside that tornado warning, and we can see one of them is just along 219, where we have that green and that red meet. I know I keep saying that, but that's the biggest sign we look for in looking at a radar indicated rotation where there could be a tornado. So this whole thing is rotating. Green is inbound to the radar, red is outbound away from the radar. So if you follow my little pink marker there, that's how this particular velocity couplet is spinning at this point. And then just to the south of that, not too far south, we do have another one of those same things where we've got the green and the red right along 222. So we have 2 velocity couplets in this tornado warning that include Clearwater, Beltrami, and Marshall counties, Pennington County, as well as we do have one of those velocity couplets right along the county line there, and one of them on the southern end of Pennington County as well. Off toward the north, near the Grigla area. For our friends in Grigla, please make sure you are taking those tornado precautions. We again have that rotation in this particular cell. And this is again on that leading edge of this line where we've seen tornado warnings popping up all the way from this morning to now. So this rotating thunderstorm, this radar indicated rotation heading toward the Grigla area, right along Highway 89 is what we are seeing. So in Grigla, also you do have some time still to get inside your home, get out of a mobile home, get out of a camper, an Airstream, what have you, get inside your home, get inside a sturdy structure that has sturdy walls, as there is a severe thunderstorm heading toward you, and there's also a rotating severe thunderstorm heading toward you. So we've got both of these threats where there's hail, there's damaging winds, but there's also a radar indicated rotation from this particular cell. So that is, we are watching that storm near Grigla also very carefully. They have just updated the tornado warning for the Hillsborough area. They have taken Hillsborough out of that, but look at this. Look at this little rotation. Look at that little notch right there. Goodness gracious, that's where we saw that the rotation on the radar as well. So we're seeing some good rotation on this storm just outside of Hillsborough. Look at that dry slot is what we call that green right there. So we've got air coming in from Hillsborough, and that air is wrapping around inside this cell. So that one very well could have a tornado on it, because that is some intense rotation seeing on radar. And as we are seeing, yes, look at that. Look at how tightly close together the red and the green is in this particular case, right where we see that little notch of spin right there. So yes, if there were a tornado on this, and there very well could be, because of how tight that rotation is, because of how well organized this is, look at this. Yeah, and if we look right there, we switch this over to velocity, we'll see that velocity is right there. So let me zoom in, because there is a very tight rotation right there just outside of Hillsborough. Let me see if we can get some roads on there. Okay, the good news is that's mainly in rural parts of that area just outside of Hillsborough. So that is the good news. We do have Eric again. I think he has looks like a wall cloud there. Eric, what are you seeing? He is just north of Amenia, by the way.
Hey Nathan, I am just northeast of Amenia, southeast of Arthur, and I'm watching a rotating wall cloud. It has not tried to produce a tornado, but there's some really good rotation with this. Lots of upward rising motion. I think that the Weather Service might need to reissue the tornado warning. The rotation that I'm seeing, and it looks like here, Nathan, we might have a funnel cloud. I'm watching. If you can kind of zoom in here, you can kind of see where I'm at. We might have a little bit of a funnel cloud here starting, trying to form here just to the south and east of Arthur, north and east of Amenia. Back to you.
Yeah, Eric, we actually have your location on our radar, and we are seeing just toward the northwest of you, just in the last radar scan, we do have a developing couplet on the radar. So I think you're right on par there. You're right on it, to where if there is something dropping from this particular storm, it would be right there along 18 just toward the north of Amenia. So Eric, of course, thank you for that beautiful shot. But you can see where Eric is. There's his little logo there. But look at just toward the north and west of where Eric Whitehill is. This is what I'm talking about. You see kind of that red, that kind of deeper red next to this green. So we do see some of that rotation still developing right along Highway 18. So that is right, I believe, right about where he's looking. So that would correlate very well with what we're seeing on radar, that there could indeed be, again, rotation of wall cloud. There's no tornado warning on that cell as we speak. But with that rotation, I would not be surprised to see something come from the National Weather Service about that as well. Let's see, we got some reports in from 228 from the Blanchard area, more indication there of that, the funnel cloud and tornado that was seen near the Blanchard area, and that is in Trail County. And it looks like Eric also has a funnel cloud.
Overtaken by the rain here.
Yeah, Eric is.
Look at this, guys. If you can take my shot.
Yeah, Eric, you're up right now. We see that funnel cloud, and we also see you are in that rainy area as well. Yeah, I think we did just lose him. The service out there for the live feed he has is a little dicey there once we get out to north of I-94. But yes, Eric was in that rain. You see that rainfall where he was. But when we switch this to velocity, Eric did see a funnel cloud there in that the shot he just had. And he's now moving to get in a better position away from those winds. And Eric is still coming in and out a little bit there in the Amenia area. So we'll just keep watching his feed very closely at this point. We did just get a new tornado warning, of course, when Eric was talking. It seems like they do seem to pop up here every time Eric talks. But this is for Beltrami and Marshall County. This is extending the tornado warning that I was talking about for our friends in Grigla. So for our friends in Grigla, there is some rotation being detected there in that area. It is, again, just radar indicated at this point, but because we do have such a ripe environment for these things to spin and perhaps spin all the way to the ground. We've already had a couple of confirmed tornadoes this afternoon already, so I'm taking these storms very seriously, just as you should as well if you are inside any of these tornado warnings or even any of these severe thunderstorm warnings. These severe thunderstorms have embedded rotations on the leading edge of these storms. So really any of these severe thunderstorm warnings you see scrolling on the bottom of your screen, or we can switch to the radar as well, any of these storms all the way from, say, the Canadian border near War Road, all the way down through Thief River Falls, through the Crookston area as well, down toward Castleton. Any of these storms are in an environment where a tornado would be possible along the leading edge of these storms, this line of storms. But where we're seeing the most intense rotation is right now outside of Thief River Falls, but heading towards Star, and then one heading toward the Grigla area as well. So this is where I want everybody to please be in the safe spot of your home, away from those windows if you're in the Star area. If you're in Star, you've got a rotation north of you, and you've got a rotation south of you. And so that's where we're seeing those bright reds and those bright greens on that velocity, is where we see kind of that brighter red and that brighter green. Let me see if I can see a speed, radar indicated speed. We are a little far away from the radar here, so we are scanning a little higher up in the atmosphere, but it looks like the velocity there, as you can see, about 42 miles per hour showing up on the this particular cell. But again, we are a little higher up on the with that radar that we're seeing at this point. So near Star, north of Star, and south of Star, north of Oakley. So it looks like it's mainly rural parts of Pennington County at this hour, just south of Star. But that's a pretty impressive rotation there, just north of Star as well. And Grigla, our friends in Grigla, getting a little far away from the radar there in Mayville. Let me see if I can pull up the radar from Duluth and see if that gives us a better look at what we can see. Let's see, Duluth, let me see. No, a little too far away from the Duluth radar as well. So not seeing enough there from the Duluth radar, but we are scanning these storms a little higher up, but we are still seeing that rotation in those middle parts of the atmosphere near Grigla, just south of Grigla where we do have that tornado warning, and just south of Star as well. For our friends in the Hillsborough area, we do have a very small tornado warning still for your area. We are still seeing that little inflow notch from this particular cell as we see coming out of Hillsborough and wrapping its way around. See if we can switch to radar and see if that still shows that little hook there. So that hook, the good news here, the hook is a little bit less defined than it was in this particular cell. This tornado warning expected to go for another 10 minutes or so. And we have some burst photos is what I'm hearing. Let's see what we have from bursts. Yes, some funnel clouds. This is, let me get a closer look. This is from the Hillsborough area around 2:45. So there is a funnel cloud there in Hillsborough is what our viewer sent to us there around 2:45. A beautiful sunflower there as well. Let's see. Oh, there is a tornado. Yes, that's a tornado. That's Oriska. That's the storm that prompted the tornado warning near Oriska earlier today, near Highway 32. Wow. And then, of course, some beautiful cloud shots as well near Lisbon. There's another picture of that storm near Oriska, that tornado on the ground near Oriska. Another one. That looks like it would likely also be the Oriska area as well, with that tornado on the ground. Look at that. That is, yes, that is a tornado, folks. This is why we are on the air right now, is because these tornadoes are small, but these tornadoes are also possible along this line of severe storms. Look at this video of this tornado. Wow. Yes, so it looks like a very small tornado there in the middle of your screen, but still a small tornado can still do damage. It can still take down walls. It can still throw debris. It can still hurt people. It can still be dangerous to people who are outside or even inside. Look at that. That's a bit more of a more robust tornado there over that shed there. Look at that, folks. So yes, this is from Tower City. That's from the near Tower City area, probably from that same tornado that was near Oriska earlier today. This one from near Valley City, looks like south and east of Valley City, about 2:30 this afternoon. Can't tell if that one's hitting the ground all the way, but yeah, that's the storm that, of course, was from that tornado warning near the Valley City and Oriska areas. The good news is that tornado warning has been lifted for the Tower City area. That threat has passed, but now the same line of storms that has produced all these funnel clouds, produced all these tornadoes, is now making its way through our northern Minnesota neighborhoods. So you see on the bottom right-hand side of your screen there, the map. That map in the little crawl across the bottom of your screen shows all those red counties in northern Minnesota. Those are all counties affected by a tornado warning at this point. And of course, we'll take a closer look at that as well. Thank you, Hutch, for the water. I greatly appreciate that. So this is still a tornado warning expected for the next 10 minutes or so in the Trail County area. That's for outside of Hillsboro. Looks like mainly rural parts of that neck of the woods there, just outside of Hillsboro. For our friends in Lisbon, things are fine. You just have some thunderstorms, some general thunderstorms making their way through you. For our friends in Castleton, same thing as well. So to recap briefly what we're expecting to set Hutch up here in just a few moments, near Grygla, we have some rotation. This looks like mainly north of Grygla, but still could see a tornado dropping from these because we are scanning this with the Doppler radar in Mayville a little bit higher up in the atmosphere. So we have this radar a little higher up, so that's one thing we're watching that near Grygla. Hopefully folks are inside in a safe spot away from those windows. We did just get around 2:57 a funnel cloud report near Hallstad. Persistent wall clouds with small funnel lowering north of Highway 200, and this was posted to social media. So that, I believe, in Trail County is going to be right about where that tornado warning was for the Hillsboro area. And that was from about 10 minutes ago that funnel cloud was reported. But it looks like the Weather Service has canceled the tornado warning for the Hallstad and Hillsboro areas. That's the good news for our friends there in the Hallstad area, but a funnel cloud was reported there briefly about 2:57 p.m., so about 10 minutes ago. So yes, we do, for our friends in Grygla, watching very carefully for you folks in northern Minnesota, and also watching very carefully for you folks there north of Star in Clearwater, Pennington, Red Lake counties north of Star. We do have that rotation where a tornado could be produced from this rotation at any given moment. So watching that very carefully for you. And then south of Star, that tornado warning actually has two velocity couplets in it. Of course, the velocity couplet being where the green meets the red. And so, of course, watching right along 400th Avenue Southeast there, just outside of Star, just south of Star, and just north and east of Oakley is where we're seeing that particular velocity couplet. Now, again, folks, I know before I hand it over to Hutch, I wanted to remind you folks, as we just got a new tornado warning in for Beltrami County. This is for our friends in southeast Roseau. Again, as I was saying a few moments ago, those little notches on the leading edge of that line of severe storms have that potential of producing a tornado at any given moment because the environment is just perfect for those little notches on the leading edge of this line of storms. And notice this is right along the leading edge of that same storm that was going from War Road through southeast Roseau. Now the Weather Service has said, yes, there is enough robust rotation on this particular cell on the leading edge of this line of severe storms to cause that the issuance of that tornado warning. That's for our friends in southeast Roseau. So southeast Roseau, that warning just was issued for you. And the severe thunderstorm warning was issued a couple of minutes ago, probably at the top of the hour or so. For you folks, this tornado warning is for Lake of the Woods and Roseau counties until 3:30. And look at this for our friends in southeast Roseau. That area of concern is right over you. So yes, that tornado warning was just issued, so you do have time still to get inside your home, away from those windows, to protect yourself from anything that may be flown from any possible tornado. It looks like this is just a radar indicated rotation, but still is enough. You've seen the pictures just moments ago of people sending in those tornado photos. Those tornado photos, of course, could be your backyard or your friend's backyard or your mother or father's backyard in northern Minnesota. So we want to make sure that everybody knows that these things have a history of producing tornadoes in the environment that we're in. And so we're taking these very seriously, just as you should take them seriously as well. Look at how impressive that rotation is just north of Star. This is broad rotation, but it is still rotating very well and very robustly. So that is what we're seeing very clearly. And now I know, folks, we do have golf. We've got hockey on today, but we also have lives that are in danger from confirmed tornadoes that have been moving through our neck of the woods this afternoon. So we are taking these very seriously. And I know for our friends in Fargo, our friends in Grand Forks, you want to watch your golf, you want to watch your hockey, but we want to keep these people, our friends in northern Beltrami County, our friends in Roseau County alive, especially when we've got such a robust environment for the potential development of tornadoes. Hutch, are you ready to go?
Yeah, why don't you get a drink of water and gather some information. You've been doing a great job, and I'm here to help out and assist. Now, we're updating folks on our app as well. Download and search VNL Weather in the App Store today. It'll keep you ahead of these storms, folks, as they're working their way through. And as Nathan has been tracking, we have a solid line of thunderstorms from the international border, not far from Roseau County and Lake of the Woods, right through the FM area. Most of these thunderstorm clusters have at least a few cells within them, because there are dozens of thunderstorm cells individually along this line. But most of these clusters of storms have at least one or two cells that are severe. Now, as we go into the afternoon, you can just feel the water in the air as you walk out the door today. It's hot, it's sweaty, and it's muggy. And these storms are moving right in on the FM area. There is no warning for Fargo right now, but as we take a look at our Valley Skycam, if we can put that up, we are seeing some darkening skies and some clouds out there that are low. We're monitoring the storm here that is working its way off to the east, and it's moving at about 25 miles per hour. So it's moving into West Fargo right now, and as it's moving off to the east at 25, there it is. So we got these dark clouds in the sky heading our way. There's no tornado warning for the FM area, and in fact, no severe thunderstorm warning at this time. But we do have some low, dark, and ominous clouds heading into the FM area, and as the clock moves forward here, it should be in West Fargo about now, and then as we move into Fargo by 3:35 and on towards Dilworth by 3:47. So we're tracking this, and if we go back to the radar, we can zoom into the line that's moving into the FM area here shortly within the next few minutes, and we'll go ahead and take a look at the hail potential, just so you know in Fargo what potential there is. 1/2 inch to 1 inch hail in a few of the cells where you see the purple blobs. That would be about it. Is there any spin to worry about in the storms moving into the Fargo area? At this time, there's no real tight, organized spin. I want to show you what I'm talking about. We got these weaker winds showing up here. There's reds next to greens, but it's separated by a gray, which means it's more of a broad rotation than a tight rotation. And in fact, we may be looking at like a gust blowing out of the storm right there, as a matter of fact. A little bit of a signature down here to the south of the Castleton and Buffalo area out there on 94 as that's working its way in, but no tight or organized rotation. We've been watching our Skycam very closely as well. Where we do have rotation that's tight, persistent, that Nathan has been tracking throughout the afternoon is in northwest Minnesota now, as it's crossed over the Red River Valley. Grigla, we see the bright greens and bright reds immediately next to each other with no grays in between, which would indicate very tight, what we call gate to gate or right next to each other spin in the clouds south of Grigla. So we have a couple of areas of very tight rotation in Marshall County, mainly the easternmost portion of it, moving into northwestern Beltrami County as well. And we see that this warning extends all the way down into Clearwater County, but most of the storm activity is off to the west. I want to time the movement of these storms as they work their way off to the east. And let me get the most recent rate of speed of movement here. It looks like well, the Grigla area, that storm is moving at 45 miles per hour, and the one that's moving more southeast into northern Clearwater County, well, also moving at that 45 mile per hour clip. So going to pop on the radar display here, and we're going to time these out. Mainly rural, but let's go ahead and take a look, as most of this line is moving at a really fast clip. of 45 miles per hour. That will put it in these cities in the following amounts of time. So if you are in the Thorholt area by 3:31, we're at 3:12 right now. So many of these communities in the path of the storm, you have time to seek shelter in that interior room, get to the lowest floor possible, and put something over your head and get under something sturdy. If you happen to be out at the lakes, the Red Lakes area this weekend, any lakes at all, as this line of storms moved in, not only do we have the risk of funnel clouds and tornadoes that you have shared videos and pictures of touching down onto the ground, but we also have the potential for some very strong and gusty straight line winds as this system continues to evolve. A cool front is pushing through. And it's pushing through this mucky, murky, sultry air, and it's kicking off some volatile weather. Our storm chaser, Eric Whitehill, is keeping his eyes on the storms not far from us here in the FM area where we've seen some rotation, but the tornado warnings have been expired for the Southern Valley, and our attention is up here. So if you're in the path of these storms, you do have time to heed the warning. If you're out at Lakes Country, get out of campers, get out of RVs, and get out of mobile homes. Those structures offer very little protection from tornadic winds or even straight line winds from thunderstorms that can be produced. And oftentimes it can be confusing for those who get hit by those straight line winds. It's oftentimes that we hear, oh, it must have been a tornado, but straight line winds can exceed 100 miles per hour in some of these thunderstorms. Now, what we're seeing on our velocity display here, straight out of Mayville, that some of these velocities are intense, but we're not noticing. Well, yeah, we do have some greater than 60 to 80 miles per hour up aloft above the ground in eastern Marshall County, right here approaching the Grigla area. So not only does it have the tight rotation, but we're also seeing some signatures of some very strong mid-atmosphere winds that are going into these storms. And this red means that that wind will be coming out you from the west. So some areas may get hit by some very strong and gusty and damaging straight line winds with these storms. So we've timed out the storms in the Northern Valley. We've timed out the storms in the Southern Valley. The Fargo area, there is a warning for the northern portions of Cass and Clay County that extends into Ada. But notice this is something else that does take place as these storms make their way off to the east. And that is that we hear from folks all the time, why did the storm split and go around Fargo? Fargo must have a bubble of protection. We never get tornadoes or we never get strong storms in Fargo. Simply not the case. As these storms are far away from the radar, like here, this is a long ways from the radar site in northwest Minnesota. The radar beam expands, it gets wider. So it'll make a small, skinny thunderstorm look like it's covering an entire portion of a county. So we get a solid wall of reflectivity and thunderstorm data. Then as the storm approaches, you might get 3 drops of rain in your community. What happened? Did the storm split? No. Is the radar lying to us? No, it's showing us what it's seeing, but we got to remember what it's seeing is not necessarily what's reaching the ground. So as these storms approach the Mayville radar site here, they get closer to the radar where it can kind of define where the individual thunderstorm towers are. Those individual thunderstorm towers might only be 10 miles in diameter. Moving into West Fargo now, if we can take a look at our Skycam, and I'm going to sneak out so I can steer it just a little bit as we take a look out to the west of the FM area. Dark skies are working their way in. Up north, now we can see it. There is a rain shaft and possibly some hail moving into West Fargo right now. That's the white that you're seeing there. Very large raindrops, possibly some small hail mixed in based on what we were seeing on the radar over West Fargo. Then as we pan to the north, we see no rain shaft. That's the updraft part of that particular storm. We've been watching that, but notice it's just a flat base and we don't see any wall clouds dipping out of that. That's good news on that section of the storm. Now, as we shift south, you're looking due west along Interstate 94 now towards Sanford and towards West Fargo. As we look off to the left side of your screen, we can see more updraft sections of the storm, and we'd be watching this for any possible lowering of the clouds, and we don't see any. So good old-fashioned thunder showers moving into the FM area here right now. There's the heaviest rain shaft. It's heading and moving along and north of Interstate 94. We can clearly see all the way out and down downstream on Interstate 94 that there's not a big heavy rain shaft heading towards us in that direction. You get south of the interstate and it doesn't look very rainy at all. So that is how these thunderstorms sometimes look like they split, or your part of town doesn't get even a drop of rain while the rest of us get inundated with a number of showers. I don't have the access to the National Weather Service's chat over here, Nathan, but I don't know if you're getting any more storm reports from this guy.
I have not seen any more storm reports. Just got a new issued that severe thunderstorm warning from about 5 minutes ago for Polk and Red Lake County. What I am working on is getting the details on a video sent to us by Tara. I believe she's in the Valley City area. I'm working on getting that as we speak, imported into our system. Again, I believe she's in the Valley City area, but I haven't heard back from her just yet. But I will show this with the caveat that this may not be in the Valley City area. Again, I'm just trying to figure out where this was,
wow,
but this
yeah.
is, yes, it's a tornado. I mean,
Yep.
there's no really doubt about this in my mind. And she said in her Facebook message to us that it likely damaged their farm there, I think, in the Valley City area. Still waiting to hear from her, but look at that.
Yeah.
That is impressive. And of course, Hutch, I also wanted to, I know a lot of people are amped up. I know people are wanting to watch their sports. So I'll give you a quick sports update. The Blues are ahead 1-0 just at the beginning of the second period. And then some of the larger leaders still have not teed off yet on CBS for golf. So they tee off around 3:10, 3:20. And of course, the leaders tee off around 3:50. So that is what we have for sports updates. But of course, folks, this picture of a tornado, this video of a tornado, is why we are still doing this. Because these storms could produce a tornado anywhere along this line of storms where we have that tornado. We have the tornado warnings issued.
Eric. Yeah.
Eric wants to talk to us. Eric, yes.
What do you got,
What do
buddy?
you see, Eric?
Yeah. I am just to the west of Argusville by a couple of miles, watching the leading edge of this storm.
Ooh, yeah.
And I've got a very distinct lowering. If you've got my feed,
We do.
You can see this lowering. It's pointed right towards the ground. Lots of upward rising motion into this thing as I pan out just a little bit. Lots of upward rising motion. And this is rotating, Hutch and Nathan. This thing's rotating.
We've got you.
I am just west of Argusville. Just west of Argusville on 25th Street.
Okay, it sounds like you're getting some significant rain and hail wrapping into that storm as well. We've got your car here on Max 2. We can show the viewers exactly where you are. We have a program that we've written that tracks Eric along, and we can plot him automatically on our Max 2 system. So here he is just off of the I-94 or 29 corridor. This setup is working its way in. He's seeing that lowering of the cloud base called a wall cloud, and it was getting dangerously low. Eric, are you witnessing rotation in that as the updraft is moving into the storm?
Yes.
Okay. So,
Yeah, definite rotation, Hutch. Definite rotation on this.
okay, so we've got you right where you are, and yeah, keep your eyes on that. That's very low to the ground indeed. You got cars kind of driving into that. That's a dangerous thing if you're traveling around and you don't know what you're driving into. That's why the Valley News Live weather app is so vital, because you can set it in the settings to follow you no matter where you're driving. And if you're driving into an area with a tornado warning, guess what? Our app will let you know that there's a warning. Here's the velocities right where Eric is, and I'll turn the car on so you can take a look at Eric right here, just off to the west of you. You have got absolutely some tight gate-to-gate rotation that's next to you. You also have what looks like one of them RFD surges near Amenia out there that's kind of pushing out. That's the bright red stuff that you see there. So some straight line winds that are going to be very strong on the other side of you. So Eric's here. Here's the rotation that you're seeing that's like right next to Eric's vehicle there. We got a bird's eye view of that from Eric Whitehill. Stay safe, my friend. And then here is what I'm talking about, that bright red wind blowing out of the storm on the backside. So sometimes that wind that burps out of a storm can add to this spin that's taking place near Eric where he's seeing. Adds to the updraft, it adds to the spin. So there is no tornado warning on this storm, but our point here is that these storms, as they move into this soupy and juicy air, they're very dynamic. We get a collapsing of the rain shaft. That rain shaft punches out some straight line winds, and those straight line winds can cause, sometimes we call them gustnados, other times we call them just flat out tornadoes. And with the energy in the atmosphere today, the storms will be producing tornadoes, as we've seen from the videos too, Nathan.
area. The Oriska area is where this particular tornado video came from. So this is from that storm that prompted the tornado warning in the Barnes County area. So this is from the Oriska, and again, she did say it did do damage to her farm. The shingles and garage doors and stuff flying around is what Tara said when she uploaded this video. So of course, people, if you again have any reports of damage that you've seen that happens to your property or that you've heard of, please get in touch with us and let us know if things have happened, because these storms have been robust and they've been potent. And again, we got a 77-mile-per-hour wind gust in the Thief River Falls area, Hutch, earlier. And we may be getting some reports from that area of some wind damage, because 77 miles per hour straight line wind gusts, nothing to mess with. And really, these storms have still the potential of producing those wind gusts upwards of 70 to 80 miles per hour.
Absolutely. As we continue to cover the storms working their way through northwest Minnesota, is where we have an active straight line of tornado warnings. What was that? Oh, okay, very good. And then down to the south, a solid line of severe thunderstorm warnings, which now includes the FM area. So the line of storms that's just west of town, we've been keeping our eyes on our Skycam. The dark skies moving in. It's time for you to seek shelter in your interior room, staying away from windows. Up north of us, in this cluster of storms where Eric Whitehill is, I'll plot his car on there once again, if I can, and show you that essentially the storms that are moving into that area do have some rotation showing up. There is a lot of lightning with these cells, and actually our concern about huge hail is there, but it hasn't been as strong. If we look at the hail size estimates here, where we see the bright blue spots here, just a couple of pimples on this hail tracking device here. So a few of these storms are producing some hail, but not a lot of them are producing the large, ginormous hail that you might expect on a day where the energy in the atmosphere is so high. And it's also so warm that hailstones may have trouble growing at a rapid rate, and that could be part of the issue there. But that's not a bad deal, that we don't have to worry as much about hail. But gusty straight line winds, and of course, we've had numerous funnel clouds and tornadoes sighted as we look into Eric Whitehill's feed. Let's get into the tornado warnings up in northwest parts of Minnesota. Moving in and through Roseau now, you are in the clear as far as the severe weather goes. Even the warnings have passed through your area. But if you are on the big lake here, Lake of the Woods, and if you are in the area near Badette over here, these storms are punching in your direction. Tight rotation continues to show up. I do want to point out we got this backwards C shape to the radar data here, and that's indicative of gusty straight line winds blowing out of the storm as the rain collapses into the ground. That wind pushes out, and we end up with a backwards C shape on the radar as the thunderstorms take on a new shape associated with that outflow. Gusty straight line winds could exceed 70, maybe even 80 miles per hour in these storms. They are a long ways away from the radar, so the data that we're getting is very high up in the atmosphere. I'm going to track and time these real quickly for our viewers up here in northwest parts of Minnesota as the storms are bowing right here. This leading edge of bowing echoes is exiting the tornado warned area, moving off to the east at a clip of 45 miles per hour at last check, and that puts these storms in Thorholt 326 and the current time 325. So now in Thorholt, you'll want to be seeking shelter, get to the lowest floor of a sturdy structure. Stay away from windows, because trees in the land of trees up here in the Northland can be felled by these winds, and those can crash in on your roof of your house. They can also cause power outages and fall on your vehicles. So if you are ahead of the storms in some of these communities out here like Badette, you have a little bit of time. Good idea to get the vehicle inside to protect it from any of that. Do not park under the biggest tree, and get prepared for some gusty straight line winds, because this backward C shape would indicate that. Badette 351 and Fairland by 421. And just so you get a feel for what all these colors that we have on our Valley News Live radar display, this first cluster is within 15 minutes. The second color is within 30 minutes. You get in the picture, 45 minutes and an hour. So we're tracking an hour out. A lot can happen in an hour, whether they stay severe or not. And here's a look at the rotation in those storms that continues to push its way out to the west. We do have some of that, and we do have some very strong straight line winds starting to show up with these as well. Nathan, you have some information?
I do, yes. We have another video Tara uploaded this one again. This tornado took
wow.
it from the tractor. This is again from the same Oriska area. So she sent 2 amazing videos of this tornado from the Oriska area. Look at this, just look at that. This is a typical environment where we'd see this line of storms, those land spout type tornadoes, Hutch, forming along the leading edge of these storms. And the same can be said for our friends in northern Beltrami County, where the Weather Service is also concerned, very concerned, of surging winds, so winds 70 miles per hour or more in that severe thunderstorm warning for Beltrami and Lake of the Woods County, in addition to that land spout type tornado, what we call a QLCS, a quasi-linear cyclone.
Big word.
Big words. But really it's basically, we've got a line of convection where we could have some rotation on it. And of course we do have that warning now for Fargo-Moorhead. Yesterday, if you were watching the Valley News Live yesterday, we expected these to be around Fargo around 5 p.m. So of course we are maybe about an hour early on our timing for the timing of that severe weather reaching Fargo-Moorhead. But again, hopefully people understood around dinner time, around 5 o'clock or so, we did expect these to be moving into the Fargo-Moorhead area. For our friends in Grand Forks, our friends in Langdon, our friends in Candu, Devil's Lake Basin, the threat has passed. High pressure is moving in. And if we can even take a look, I'll take a look at dew points for you and show you what kind of environment these storms are in, because we do have plenty of humidity still right along in Fargo-Moorhead, right along Fergus Falls, those dew points in the 60s. But notice for our friends in Devil's Lake, we're seeing drier air moving in. So the threat will really be diminishing in the Devil's Lake Basin even as we speak and even as we go through the next few hours. But of course, our main concern now is for our friends in northern Minnesota, where we've got a lot of trees that could obscure your view if you do have a tornado potentially on the ground. Trees would likely obscure anything on the ground at this point. Of course, with those trees, Hutch was talking about those winds, taking those trees out and felling them and putting them onto people's property, or perhaps even onto people, heaven forbid, onto somebody. A tree could fall on somebody when we have so much damaging wind moving through such a tree-y area in northern Minnesota. And of course, as we go through Fargo-Moorhead, we're seeing the potential of hail with this as well. In addition to that potential of those damaging winds, we can see what the stats are on this. Yeah, expecting upwards of nickel-sized hail with this as well. So perhaps not necessarily devastating hail, but still with winds around 60 to 70 miles per hour, nickel-sized hail can become dangerous very, very quickly.
Very good. All right, well, thank you for the update there on the southern storms. We're watching them quickly, and in fact, we'll remind you, Eric Whitehill is on a storm that had a lowering base and a lowering rotating wall cloud on it just north of the FM area. And Eric continues to keep his eyes on that storm as it works its way through. And I don't know if he can hear me or if we can hear him, but if we can get a report on what it is that he's been witnessing with that. Was that lowering? Is it still down? Has that lifted, Eric? What do you say?
10 seconds and I will have you a good shot.
Okay, that
Hey,
sounds
Hutch,
good.
Right now I'm just getting into a new position, and here is what I'm looking at right now. This is almost over Argusville. If you can see that, Hutch, this is almost over Argusville. This is a leading edge. This is indicating some fairly strong, robust winds. Does not appear to be tornadic, but you can see a little bit of green in there, Hutch.
Yes, you can.
That green's going to indicate that, yep, we've got some potential for hail in there. My goal right now is I want to try and get north and get across the river and get over onto the Minnesota side, because the storm doesn't look like it's going away anytime soon. And so we need to do what we can to let our folks over here on the Minnesota side of the river know what's going on. But if I'm in Georgetown, Felton, I'm watching this storm very, very closely. Back to you.
Hey, thanks for watching that one for us. It's really close to the FM area. There is that, what you're looking at there, that neat looking, shelfy looking cloud, almost detaching from the parent thunderstorm, so it might become a roll cloud. Just wicked. And it's going to have a lot of scary looking clouds and shapes that are funnel-like as that blows out. So a gust of wind is coming right towards Eric's location there, and that gust of wind is creating this cloud that's kind of rolling out ahead of the storm. And we get a lot of funnel-shaped features from this, but again, we're watching that for gusty straight line wind potential with it as it punches its way in. And then, as Nathan was talking, along these gust front edges, we can get these brief spin-ups of tornadoes. Now, they're not weak. So you saw in that field, if that was just in a populated area, the mess that we would have with that type of a situation. So we're watching things very closely, and I have good news to pass along with regard to the radar threat here. First and foremost, in Fargo, the storm is pushing in right now. Our Skycam shows that we have dark skies to the north and to the west, and it's pushing right over the studios now, and it's going to continue off into Moorhead, and it's moving off to the east at about 30 miles per hour. There is some small hail potential, but the gusty straight line wind is the main threat. And as we look at those winds, I want to share with you that here is what we're seeing, and it's a unique feature not far from where Eric is. So the greens show motion toward the Mayville radar up here, the reds away. You see this little area right here, and I'm going to zoom in on that real quickly. That is the area right where Eric Whitehill is looking into. And that is where we have this broad rotation, and you've got outflow from the storm, and that's creating the cloud that you're looking at on Eric Whitehill's feed. It's that outflow from the thunderstorm and the heavy rain that's pushing out, and possible hail as well. And that's interacting with the inflow and the updraft of the storm right here. And right over I-29, we have some pretty tight spin in that area. So there is the possibility north of the FM area, Harwood, Georgetown, as this feature works its way off to the east, there could be a spin up in that area, and Eric Whitehill is on that. Here's the good news. Look at this. As we look across our region from the international border, we have solid yellow polygons. These are all thunderstorm warnings now, including the FM area. So here's our plan. We're going to carry you through Fargo. We're going to watch these as these storms approach our communities. We are going to let you know what's going on. So we will be off here shortly unless we get more information about a funnel cloud or tornado. But essentially, we're going to carry the storm through Fargo here, time it, see what we get, let people know what's coming their way out in Hawley. And then also, this solid line of severe storms is becoming more of a wind event now as it becomes linear. It's blowing out this whole area up here. I'm going to get you the timing. This warning polygon here for the Ada area, for Borup, that's in effect until 3:45 as that storm moves off to the east at 35 miles per hour. 4:15 for Fargo Moorhead, West Fargo, and out towards the Hawley area. And Nathan has some information to update us on too, but I'm just going to get this new warning that does include the Red Lakes areas in effect until 4:15. Very gusty straight line winds, folks, are moving right onto the lake, and you see these little notches that are cut out. These little notch areas here are what we would worry about where we might see the possibility of more spin ups this afternoon, and we'll watch it closely. Nathan, what information have you got to share with us?
Yeah, we just got a severe thunderstorm warning issued for outside the Lemoore area. This is for large hail heading into Verona. Look at how intense that storm is heading toward the Verona area. I'm going to pull up a hail size here. They're calling for anywhere from 1 inch to 1.25 inch diameter hail with this one. So that's an intense little cell that's popped up right near Verona. And you see that our hail size detection on the radar is showing about 1.5 inches at the elevated part of the atmosphere. And also, of course, Hutch, when we're, since we are now without a tornado warning, wanted to give an update to those folks about the sports, because I've seen a lot of people, you know, kind of saying, hey, Nathan, hey, Hutch, what's going on? We wanted to let people know that the Blues are still up 1-0. That score has not changed halfway through the second period. And we also have the leaders at the TPC in Harding Park, the PGA Championship. They have not teed off yet. So Dustin Johnson, Scheffler, and Champ have not teed off yet. So we do still have this severe thunderstorm moving into Fargo Moorhead as we speak. And we did just get a tornado warning issued for northern Cass County, Hutch, just north of Fargo. That's for Harwood and Georgetown. This just came out. Let me get the stats on this. We just got this radar indicated located over Argusville, 11 north of Fargo, moving east at 15.
Yeah.
So that's where Eric is. This, again, was just issued. You saw it blink up here when I was telling you about the PGA Championship. Those leaders have not teed off yet. But for our friends in Georgetown, this includes our friends in Borup. Does not include Ada. But let me pull up the velocity couplet there at this particular cell and show you where that rotation is. So they say that this was located over Argusville, so north of Harwood, and they're showing about that increasing circulation there. So it's about to cross the Red River. We can see that circulation. Again, I've talked about it all day long. Those greens and those reds, when they come together, that's where we are most concerned about a potential tornado. So this was radar indicated rotation that has caused the issuance of this warning in Cass, Clay, and Norman counties until 4:15 p.m. This is about to head toward the Highway 75 corridor. It looks like it has crossed I-29 already. So for your folks in Argosville, even for our folks in Harwood, looks like things are okay. But Georgetown, you do have time, you do have a few moments to get outside, or to get away from outside, to get inside, away from those doors, away from those windows, getting as many walls as you can between yourself and this storm as you can, because not only is there rotation on it, it's also a severe storm. We did just get, okay, perfect. Awesome. Okay, so yeah, Bryson DeChambeau and Tony Finau did just tee off on the PGA Championship. So we're still watching the sports for you guys. Again, we haven't seen too many moves in the PGA Championship yet, and the hockey game is still 0-1. Blues in the lead halfway through the second period, but we did just get a tornado warning issued for northern Cass and northern Clay County. This is for that rotation that was near Argosville, some increasing rotation that we saw on that velocity that prompted the issuance of this warning for the Georgetown area. And Eric Whitehill's on this storm. So Eric, where exactly are you, Eric, and what kind of things are you seeing? Can you hear me?
Hi, Ken Nathan. Right now I'm just coming up on Georgetown. I do not have a visual on it. I'm in a lot of rain and some pea to dime sized hail right now. I'm going to try and get a little bit to the south. Now that I'm on the Minnesota side, I'm going to head south on 75 and see if I can get a good vantage point. I can see where the rotation is on radar. I need to get south if I want to have a chance at seeing it. So I'm going to work on that, and hopefully I'll have more for you here in just a few minutes. Back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Eric. And Eric, as you can see on our little tracker here, we do have a program that runs his location. He is very close to where that rotation is outside the Argosville area. So it looks like he's moving north away from that. But you saw he was in the rain core of this cell, so he's in the northern part of that, moving away from Georgetown. So it looks like that rotation will move south of Eric Whitehill, which he's going to be a little bit, rain will obscure his view of that potential tornado, just like it will obscure the view for you folks in Georgetown. So if you are in Georgetown, it's raining, but there is rotation heading toward you along Highway 75. You can see the green, you can see the red where those are coming together. So folks in Georgetown, this is your first alert. There is a rotating storm heading toward you as we speak, and you need to be in the safe spot of your home, away from those windows. And if you are out in a camper, if you're out looking at the storm, looking at the rain, take this storm seriously, as all that rain is going to obscure your view of anything potentially on the ground with this cell in Georgetown. So this is a tornado warning going till 4:15 p.m. for northern Cass, northern Clay County, and does move into Norman County as well, as the storm is moving, I believe, east at 15 miles per hour. So that is where we're seeing this rotation that could possibly drop a tornado at any given moment. Again, folks, we've seen these tornadoes today. Look at this. This is from the Oriska area. We've seen tornadoes on the ground today. So Hutch, myself, all of us here at Valley News Live, taking these storms very seriously, because if this were to move through Georgetown or your mother or father's neighborhood, we want to make sure that we are here and we're telling people that they need to be indoors, away from those windows. Trust me, I love sports too. I love golf and I love hockey because I feel like I'm an old soul. But what also is important to me is keeping people in our area alive. So near Georgetown, this rotation is heading toward you in the Georgetown area. Tornado warning, sirens likely going off in this entire area. For our friends in Argosville along I-29 between Gardner and Harwood, the rotation has cleared that area. So the rotation threat in your area has gone, but we do still have a severe thunderstorm in that area as we speak. So for our friends in Georgetown is where we're most concerned about that velocity couplet, in the rotation on that velocity couplet.
You take it for a while.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah, Hutch's going to go grab some water as well. So we can see that red and the green where that meets, right over Georgetown, right over Highway 75. We are seeing some strengthening of that velocity. And we do have that really tight, those greens and those reds are very tight together. So we are most concerned, of course, you can see how those greens and reds are together right over Georgetown. So there's people that live in Georgetown, folks. It may not be going through Fargo, but there's people that live in Georgetown, and we want to make sure that they are in their safe spot, away from those windows, and are taking their tornado precautions, putting their plan into place as we speak, because that rotation is heading through Georgetown as we speak. Have not seen any reports of a tornado on the ground with this storm at this time, but we are concerned that this could drop a tornado any given moment, just with how the environment is and with how we've seen enough tornadoes today from up and down along this line of severe storms. Let's see, we wanted to update this. This is for we have updated this severe thunderstorm warning for Ransom County. So that is just updating a severe thunderstorm warning, which is the good news. And Eric, you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, he is, let me pull up his location right there. He is just near Georgetown. He is moving near to where that rotation would be. Looks like he's just south of that rotation now, which is the good news. He needs to get out of that rain core before he can see that rotation. We can notice how heavy that rain is. So folks, in Georgetown, this is what you're seeing. It's rainy. You can't see any type of rotation, what have you, in the Georgetown area. So that's why you need to be inside your home, away from those windows. I mean, you can even see some wind on that as well, because that is a severe thunderstorm at this time as well. Even though the rotation may not be on the ground, the rotation may not be visible, we want to make sure that you're aware that this could produce a tornado at any given time, along with that heavy rain. So for the Georgetown area, look at this. Look at how dark that red is. Look how deep that red is. And that includes our friends in Argusville as well. This is still a severe thunderstorm outside of this rotation. So we have the rotation near the Georgetown area, but for our friends in, say, Argusville, right along I-29, Harwood as well, we do have that severe thunderstorm warning going for that large hail and that damaging wind. I can get you the stats on that real quick. Looking at wind upwards of 60 miles per hour and nickel-sized hail in that storm as well. So that's outside of the tornado warning, still in that same area. So even though there may not be a rotation on the ground per se, there is still a severe thunderstorm heading through the Georgetown area as we speak. And of course, just got that tornado warning updated as this storm is becoming more linear in the northern Minnesota. So we are still concerned very much so about damaging straight line winds. Eric, I can hear him in my ear. Eric, I see you're near the Georgetown area, but what kind of things have you seen out there in the past 5 minutes or so?
Hey Nathan, this is a really interesting feature. North of Georgetown, I had winds out of the north and out of the west. Now I am south of Georgetown, right off of Clay County 108. So about 2-3 miles south of Georgetown, I have really, really strong winds in excess of 30 miles an hour out of my south to southeast. So that area of rotation, that area of spin, the winds around this storm, that area of rotation, Nathan's got to be very, very close to Georgetown right now because of those winds being out of the north. And now that I'm on the south side of Georgetown, these winds are out of the southeast, anywhere from 20 to 30 miles an hour. I'm trying to still get ahead of this storm to see if I can get a good vantage point of it, but I've got a little bit of work for me to do. But if I'm in Georgetown, Nathan, you've got it right on. We definitely need to take our tornado precautions in that area. The tornado, I'm guessing, is going to be rain wrapped if there is one in there right now. Back to you.
Thanks so much, Eric. And I'm going to show you on visibly on radar what he's talking about with the wind shifting when he was moving down Highway 75. So red in this case is outbound away from the radar, and green is inbound toward the radar. And the radar in this case is in Mayville. So we're going to talk using our point of reference up there in Mayville. So when you have red outbound, he was talking about those northwest winds out of the northwest, right there, those winds in the red moving away from the Doppler radar. And he said those winds out of the south that he drove into, right there, those deeper greens out of the south. So he noticed that wind shift from outbound, the reds, to the green on the inbound. So he noticed that rotation as he was making his way through the Georgetown area. The good news for Eric is now he's on south of Georgetown, and the rotation is now north and east of Georgetown at this point. But notice in the last radar scan, we did see that rotation become a bit more organized just outside of Georgetown. So still a severe thunderstorm with those winds, with the rain Eric was talking about. It likely would be rain wrapped in this case because you can see right there north of Georgetown, there's the rotation. But flipping over to the radar, look at this. That's all rain. So if anything, we're on the ground. If you're anywhere on 190th Avenue North, right, and east of 75, you likely wouldn't be able to see a tornado if it was indeed on the ground. Another reason to take this warning seriously because of how it is just not visible to people who may hear the sirens go off or see the tornado warning come up on their phone and want to run outside and see it. That is not what you want to do anytime, but especially with this time. This rotation just north and east of Georgetown is rain wrapped. So you likely, again, would not be able to see it, but the rotation is still there, and it is still could produce a tornado at any given moment right along 160th Avenue North, just north of Georgetown, right along 190th Avenue North in that area as well, in Clay County. Very good, very good. Thank you. So yes, we do have this tornado warning still in effect for us, and I know we still have sports going on. I want to update you on the Blues game. Still 1-0 Blues in the lead toward the end of the second period, and the leaders still have not teed off yet on the PGA Championship on CBS, but they will be teeing off here pretty soon. But we do also have this tornado warning and this rotation near the Georgetown area in northern Clay County. You can see that rotation being picked up with the greens and the reds, that velocity couplet meets. We do have that distinct rotation in this storm, and this, we've seen the videos, we've seen the pictures of funnel clouds of tornadoes. We are watching these very carefully because these storms have had a history of producing tornadoes at this point. So we're watching this very carefully for our friends in Georgetown, just to make sure that everybody knows somebody somewhere. And we will make sure the people who know somebody in the Georgetown area or live themselves in the Georgetown area know that the rotation is now mainly north of Georgetown. That's the good news here. But the tornado warning still continues for our friends along the Borup area. In the Borup area, this rotation is heading toward you. As I slowly loop this, I want to show you that rotation moving through Georgetown and now heading toward the Borup area. So this is for our friends in Borup. This rotation, have not seen any reports yet of anything on the ground, but the rotation is heading toward the Borup area, right along 9 there, heading toward the Norman County, Clay County line is where we're seeing this rotation moving. The tornado warning goes till 4:15 p.m. And in addition to that, we see the rain and we see the hail with this one as well. We can see that hail, not too big there in Georgetown, but of course we do have that severe thunderstorm warning, I believe still for Lemoore County, if I'm not mistaken, or that has, yes, moved into the Hanson area. Looking at hail in the Hanson area. So this is one of those severe thunderstorm warnings that was just issued right before that tornado warning was. Looking at hail, upward of a $50 sized hail in that storm there, heading toward the Hanson area. So for our friends in Hanson, Lisbon, this is also heading toward you. You are included in that severe thunderstorm warning. Gwinner, you are not included in that severe thunderstorm warning with that $50 sized hail possible. The good news is for Fargo-Moorhead, the severe thunderstorm warning has been canceled, but the tornado warning continues for northern Cass and northern Clay County, but the rotation is now focused in northern Clay County. Hutch is waving at me. Hutch, what do you have for me?
Well, we want to get this right out too. There is now another tornado warning up by Lake of the Woods, Badette. You are in a tornado warning, and I've got the velocity displays on here. Again, this is so far away from the radar, it's real hard to see what's going on, but we have along this leading edge of thunderstorms moving all the way from the international border and the big lake, Lake of the Woods, out toward the Rainy River and Badette, some rotation showing up. So because of this, a new tornado warning until 4:15 for Lake of the Woods is in effect. I don't know if they had confirmation on this guy or anything of that nature, but the bottom line is that this whole line is moving off to the east at 45 miles per hour.
That's just radar indicated that one, but it's moving east at 55, that rotation you're talking about there near Badette. And also get a report of a funnel cloud in Verona, near Verona at 3:30. So that was that storm that was severe thunderstorm warned. So that has a history of producing funnel clouds in the Verona area, and that storm heading toward Lisbon, again, has a history of producing a funnel cloud. Somebody, the public, did report a brief funnel cloud with that storm near Verona. You can see that storm still showing some good signs of rotation. This does show what we call the hook echo in this particular storm. We have that kind of inflow right here, right along the county line, just outside of Verona. So we do have that rotation being detected on the Doppler radar, but looking at velocities, also seeing a bit of that rotation there as well. So this storm near Verona that is heading toward Lisbon has a history of producing a funnel cloud. That's, of course, in addition to that rotation we have right now near the Georgetown area in northern Clay County. Good news is that rotation does seem to be weakening north and east of Georgetown. Of course, Hutch was talking about that rotation in the Badette area, and you can see that that does look to include, Hutch, the city of Badette itself, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right. Tell you what we're going to do. We are going to regroup here at Valley News Live. There is a line of thunderstorm activity from Lake of the Woods all the way to just north of the FM area. We do have a couple of active tornado warnings. The rotation in these is still present, and it shows up in spurts along this whole leading edge. So as this line of severe thunderstorms moves towards your area, make sure you're heeding warnings, as we just got a new one for Oaks. Just off to the east of you in Ellendale, thunderstorm warning. So solid thunderstorm warnings all the way down to the South Dakota border. Storms are moving east at 50 miles per hour. Will not take them long to be through Badette and out of here and off into the International Falls area. We have the Red Lakes area getting heavy rain and thunderstorm winds now with the backward C shape, but more moving into the Bagley area as well as Fosston. You have storms right over you. They are severe. There is at times some rotation showing up. We have the rotating storm that is south of Borup. It's making its way east at 35 miles per hour. Eric Whitehill is on that. If anything happens, we will let you know. Active tornado warning continues mainly for northern Cass County and the southern reaches of the Norman County area south of Ada. That does include near Borup. And then we have active rotating thunderstorms down here in southeast North Dakota. We're going to get back to our programming for a bit, gather information, and if we need to, we'll be right back on to let you know, and we will keep you updated throughout the evening right here on Valley News Live and valleynewslive.com. Until next time, Well, seek shelter, stay tuned, and stay safe.
For more First Alert weather updates, download the Valley News Live weather app.